we go.
There we go. Cool.
Nashville's about 85, which is it's cooled down quite a bit.
Yes, same here. It feels like a summer's day here, but yesterday was very, very cool.
Very hot everywhere and humid and kind of no fun to go outside.
Welcome to Visual Radio.
Thank you.
That's our show. Bobby Hebb's from Nashville. Remember Sonny?
Yes, sir.
So
Wow.
today, 59 years ago, was their day off before the Beatles and Bobby Hebb did Shea Stadium tomorrow.
Man, oh man.
I'm chronicling the tour, and for the daughter,
Yeah.
she's one of my best friends, but Bobby was one of my best friends. So he's from Nashville, and that's where he went back to at the end of his life. But he did this amazing tour with the Beatles, and so when I saw Nashville pop up, sorry, I had to.
Oh,
My
that's
brain
great.
is on that daily.
We have to know where our music comes from, don't we?
Yeah, and writing Sonny got him with the Beatles, and
Yep.
Memphis, the Beatles got an autograph of Bobby's, and there's a famous series of photos Jet Magazine did of the Beatles getting Bobby's autograph.
Oh, that's tremendous. I love that stuff. Little Richard lived here in Nashville for many years. You could go to the local little restaurant, up in a small town called Madison and see Little Richard. What an influence he had,
Well,
on McCartney and everybody.
we're going to talk about you. I'll give you my Little Richard stories. He was in a hotel with me in L.A. in 1992 and wouldn't give me his autograph. I'll see you again. I never saw him again. But there was a Little Richard Jimi Hendrix tape from Boston that this TV show discovered. So I brought the Hendrix estate down in 95, and all these years later, the widow decided to sell it. My friend Little Walter was a 50s mastering engineer. Little Richard, Fats Domino, he did all the mastering.
Wow.
And Bobby Hebb would, Penniman just called me. Bobby would say, and Penniman would call Little Walter. And so it's amazing this thing of this tape. So we put it up on auction last year, and it got 54 grand.
Wow.
Little Richard's band with Jimi Hendrix as guitarist.
Oh man.
Yeah, you can Google it, and it'll come up. But it's
That's kind of a nice little secret, isn't it? I mean, that I never heard about that one.
Yeah, well, the TV show discovered it in Walter's basement. Walter just pulled it out, and I'm thinking, John, can you imagine all the stuff in people's basements and attics that we don't have access to?
I know. I'll tell you, to get back to the album and Denny Seiwell, my producer,
Thank you. Yeah.
yeah, it's the same kind of thing. And I love this stuff because we go into Denny's office and his drums are set up and we've started, producing the record, and he pulls out this little cassette, and you just look at a cassette, and it's kind of nostalgic, and it says Billy Joel demo tape. And it was a little cassette tape that had been sent to Denny by someone, said, "Hey, what do you think of this guy?" And it was really interesting, Joe, because he just sat down at a little spinet piano and was, shouting out some songs, and they were kind of rushed, and he didn't, it was rough, really rough around the edges. But evidently, Denny said, I think this guy's got some potential. And so they start the Safe Harbor album. And halfway through that album, Paul McCartney calls Denny and says, would you like to start a band? Call it Wings. And so Denny left Billy Joel's project. But that little cassette, I asked Denny if I could have it. Of course, he looked at me like I was nuts. Oh, it's just, and it's fun because he wasn't perfect yet. Billy wasn't. And it was rough, and he was banging out these tunes. And Denny did a good job producing him, and really good job producing me.
And I do want to talk about your album, but Denny Seiwell, did he play with Denny Lane?
Yes, he did.
Oh, good. I brought Denny to America in 1989.
Yeah.
That was yeah. So it's all this wonderful stuff is going back and forth. But what's Denny like to work with?
Well, I started off, Joe. I'm from Minnesota, and I started to kind of pursue a solo career a little later than most people do. And I started to write songs and play piano, got out of the band. I played in bands for years and did rock and roll and country and all that stuff. And I just kind of got tired of the environments. And somebody came up from Nashville and brought me down, and I got signed with Muscle Shoals Studios, which Roger Hawkins, the drummer, produced the album with me. I got down there, and that project got me to LA to another producer, and I did a project, and she said, we should hire Denny Seiwell to play, but he's kind of tough to work with. So why don't you do a couple of live gigs with him first? And the reason he's tough is that he knows what he's doing. And we didn't do any production work, but we played some live gigs. And then all these years later, it came full circle. We've known each other. We've done some small gigs. We played a huge stadium together. We've done all this stuff. And he just has, Joe, it's about experience. Lots of people have a lot of talent, and we watch some of them come and go. And the ones that persist and hang and stay and learn and kind of stand up to all the challenges that come. Denny's produced a lot of artists. So to work with him, his experience is it's invaluable. And it was for me.
I've never known him as a producer.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
What was the demo that got the deal for your first album or for Denny Seiwell?
Well, actually, the deal for the first album, one of the guys promoting the publishing side of Muscle Shoals came up to see me play in Minneapolis at a little club. And an old-fashioned kind of five-star restaurant deal with a big ballroom, and it was a big piano there. And I played a song I wrote about my dad called I'll Play All Night Long. And that's kind of what got me signed. And then I met Roger Hawkins down in Nashville and played him a song called Back When We Rocked and Rolled. It was kind of a Bob Seger kind of, and that got me that deal. The songs with Denny, it was interesting. I was going to do an album with another film producer in LA, and I had the plane ticket and some time scheduled, and that fell through, just a medical issue with the producer. And Denny said, why don't you come stay at my house and we'll go into the studio with this guy named Fernando Perdomo, which you probably saw on the promotion piece, guitar player. He's just crazy talented. He's got a nice little studio. And we recorded the first two tracks, Only You and Up on River Road. And that's what did it for Denny. He said, you got any more stuff? I said, I got tons of stuff. He said, let's keep going and let's do an album. He says, I got some ideas. And we started, that's what got it rolling. So Only You and Up on River Road and they're the first two songs on the album. Pretty much how we recorded them first take,
Now,
and
was that LA?
yeah, that was at Fernando Perdomo's studio in LA. Yeah.
So you did go to LA even though the other fellow had medical issues. You
Yep,
went
I
on the
did
trip
because I
anyway.
had, I had a plane ticket and said, Dad, come on, I'm going to go out there. And Denny said, why don't you come stay with me? And he called Fernando and we set up the time. We intended to do a couple of songs. And then 17 tracks later, we did a Bob Seger track, Against the Wind. We did some old blues. I love playing blues piano. But Denny decided, let's do all original songs, kind of Americana blues stuff. And that's how we decided what to pick of the tunes. And then The Better Side of Me, the title track, I wrote in about 10 minutes. That's the last song I wrote because we didn't have a title. And I thought, well,
Ah,
I'm an old guy. I've lived through some stuff, and I ain't perfect, and I never will be, but I hope you see the better side of me. And it's kind of the sentiment of that whole record.
very nice.
Yeah,
Did you know Dave Maxwell?
I did not.
Dave Maxwell played for Freddie King and
Oh,
Muddy
gee.
Waters, but he did a session for me at the end of his life with Bobby Hebb. I just thought you'd know him because you like blues piano and he
Well,
liked
I'm gonna
blues
look it
piano.
up. I'm gonna look it up now.
Yeah. Dave Maxwell, you love his work. A great guy too. So when did this album start, the new one?
It came out May 16th is when it was released. We started recording it about a year and 3/4 ago.
Oh, really?
It
Okay.
took 2 trips to LA. I did some overdub stuff and vocal stuff in my own studio here and some fixing. It actually took 3 trips to LA. And then it was mastered in LA, and um, Steve Picaro from Toto was on the record playing some string parts, in one of the songs. Then,
Beautiful.
when you asked me about Denny producing, it seemed real tough. And I got to be honest, I've done a bunch of records and I've had producers, but I'm just kind of stubborn. And I'm sure I'm not the only artist that you've heard that come from. But I tell you what, Denny, I listened to Denny and I did about 90% of what he asked me to do. Don't tell him about the other 10%, but I took his
Well,
I took his advice, Joe.
I met Denny Lane because I was managing Jimmy Miller,
Oh wow.
the Stones producer.
Yeah.
And so, Jimmy knew JoJo Lane, and JoJo Lane and I became best friends. And she had me bring Denny over, and she gets a phone call, and it's Paul McCartney, and he goes, "Who's this?" And she goes, "It's your old friend JoJo, Paul." Really funny, but Paul was instrumental in getting Denny legally into America again in
Uh-huh.
'89. And
Yeah.
so I'm fascinated because of the Denny Seiwell connection. And
Well, and you being in Boston, my agent is there. Ed Keene is in Boston, so I get out there a lot. And the music scene and how much is going on in that whole area from Boston down to Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia. It's just a lot of stuff happens there, musically. And when I heard about the interview, I was kind of looking up who you were, and it's fascinating. People like you need to keep track of what happened, these stories and how life's like a pinball machine, man. These weird little things happen and bing, 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 and all of a sudden we see this album that sells millions of records, and the way it happened is never a smooth operation. I mean, haven't you found that just the way
oh, it's a
things?
lot tougher today because there were like 40 of us that built the scene in '75. What they call the new wave back in
Yeah.
the punk movement. And there was the Rat, and there was the Club, and there were all these clubs, and I was booking like 20 of them. And so there was this magical scene. It's not there anymore. Now they're going for midline clubs, the MGM and Jethro Tull can come in, and the major acts and the secondary acts can come in, but the local bands have YouTube. They don't have a vibrant club scene, and
Yeah.
that's sad because Bruce Springsteen played Oliver's at Fenway Park, and the Velvet Underground's final shows with Doug Yule as the last remaining member. I taped it. It became out in Japan, but like I taped the second to last show, and it was at
Wow.
Oliver's, and it's like, whoa. So that's gone. And Oliver's is still there, but it's just a nightclub for the Red Sox fans,
Uh,
and there's no music there. They used to have music every weekend. And Springsteen played there all the time. That's where I saw him in '73.
oh man.
Yeah, I remember he broke a guitar string. It's just this weird, fragments of a memory from half a century ago.
Yeah.
But you're in Nashville, so do you do sessions there?
I don't do many sessions. I have played a little bit. Those guys are so good. And the ones that are really good get implanted in that session world, and then they can't go out on tour or pursue their own stuff a lot. I have done some sessions. I work as a music therapist at a place where I use music to kind of help heal people, and that keeps me busy, during the day. And the history of it's funny in some of the music kind of therapy sessions I do. Yesterday we just played a couple of Boston's old hits that all these old guys Actually, old people now are actually grandchildren of people that listen to a lot of this music that we grew up with. But the power of music and the feeling of nostalgia when you hear old music as you grew up, and it makes people feel like they're at home. It really has a wonderful power to it. And the
Now,
70s and 80s music, man, good stuff, you know.
do
Yeah.
you do therapy for musicians or for just regular people?
For the regular for everybody at this particular place, it's a place of healing. And then it's called Cumberland Heights, and that's what the song Up on River Road is written about. But Music Care is the part of the Grammys sends a lot of people to us, and I coordinate that program because I've toured and been out with all different kinds of situations, and just kind of we try to help them stay on the straight and narrow. How do you do that and still perform in the music world? Because it's not an easy thing to do, and it's about mental health.
So, are there people other than who have alcohol and substance abuse that come to you for therapy?
What most primarily that's what it is. There's mental health and then substance abuse, and what's really cool about it is we do these little groups, and you'll have somebody that's been really pretty famous already and made a lot of money. Then you'll have somebody that's just beginning to play, and something really magical happens when that famous dude or woman kind of sees how they can help this other person just by showing them something and being a part of something. We write songs, we do all sorts of goofy stuff, but music is really powerful. And I suspect you've been under the influence of that for most of your life. Um,
Good
I'll just tell,
vibrations.
I'll tell you how, I grew up in a family that was Irish and a lot of drinking and throwing people around and stuff. I was about in eighth grade, Joe, and my father played with Stan Kenton Orchestra in the old days, played clarinet and jazz. And then my brother played like Grateful Dead stuff. And then Beatles. We had all this music going around. And one day my brother puts on a record, and it was the Chambers Brothers, and it was People Get Ready. Just the most soulful. And it stopped me in my tracks. And when I look back in my rearview mirror now, I think that was the day that I realized how powerful music could be on your soul and your spirit. And then I gradually started to pick up instruments a few years later, and when you're playing them, you play as well, and when you listen, the same thing happens. It's magical.
Well, it's
And
a
so
vibrational force.
it
It's
is.
it's everyone's different vibrations,
Yeah.
and all of life is vibrations. The tabletop, So like we're just tuning in and grabbing everything from the other and just trying to make it tangible so that
Yeah.
people can enjoy it. But your thought process is different from McCartney's thought process and Billy Joel's, and everyone processes it and pushes it out. That's my take on it.
Yeah.
So, do
If
you have
all we're doing is moving air, it's not rocket science, but it has an effect on our bodies. And I know there's certain keys of music, that affect certain parts of our bodies. And it's a powerful thing to be a part of. And I can explain it when I have to, but it's more fun to experience and then watch it. We'll have a person come in there that's suffering from a bunch of stuff, and you put a guitar in their hand, and even if they haven't played very much, they start to talk and you know let the stuff out. So that's kind of what I do also. That's what
are,
that song Up on River Road is about. Yeah.
are they group sessions or one on one or both?
Both, everything. Yeah. Yeah.
So, if there's a songwriting session that makes people speak,
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a gas. I mean, it's challenging at times because about a month ago we had a really talented songwriter, and so he kind of helped. And then every person in the room got to put a word in. And you've written songs, and sometimes the thing's about 95% written, and then the person in the room hasn't said a word, the whole time. They come up with an idea or a phrase, but everybody feels a part of it. We record it really badly, and we send it around as much as we can. And there's just so many ways to use music, to help people heal, you know. I love it.
Jimmy Miller used to let he said if an executive came into a session, he would let the executive twirl a button. Jimmy said, I can always put it back. But they go home and tell the wife, I helped Jimmy Miller make this record. And he always wanted to keep a good vibe. And that was one of his techniques to keep a good vibe.
I learned a lot when I went to Muscle Shoals. I heard so many tremendous stories, but I watched these guys have recorded everybody, and the old trick was the executive. One executive was in there and said, "Yeah, can you do this and do that?" And the engineer told me, he said, "I just was acting, like I was turning the knob, giving it something. How's that? How's that?" And the guy goes, "Oh, that's perfect." Didn't change a darn thing. And the stories they have of in the first album I did down there, we cut 2-inch tape. They hadn't done it for a long time. So the engineer put a surgical mask on and they videotaped and made a big deal out of it. It took a minute out of my song. You remember that, the old days?
Oh, yeah.
They cut it, put it back together, and God, it was a miracle. And those experiences that I have kind of mean as much to me as the songs do. Recording them and watching these guys.
And cutting a mistake out 1 inch on the tape. And it's like nuts. But you had to do it. And, it was,
See, I didn't know the song shouldn't be 5 minutes long. And they're going, Johnny, what are you gonna do? You gotta cut out a whole verse. I go, how do you do that? And we did it. And so I gotta share those stories because a lot of people I know in Nashville don't know what tape is.
well, Jumpin' Jack Flash, they went to lunch and the tape got eaten by the machine.
Hmm.
So if you listen closely, they just made a copy of what they had, inserted it. Miller put maracas on it, but it's the same exact recording. They did it twice and they put maracas on it and
Oh,
they saved the
I didn't
tape.
know that.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, brilliant man. And it was great working with him. But again, these guys, Denny Seiwell, man, they probably have stories and stories.
Yeah, he's really seen it all, and um, you listen to just all the different music he's done. He's worked with. He's an unbelievable jazz drummer. It was really he was in the Navy jazz band, and
And who knew? Because you hear them on pop records.
yeah. But
It's like,
his thing was, and McCartney knew it, that Denny could go into a sound studio, with 70-piece orchestras and do those charts and play those things.
ah,
Denny, and he could just do everything. And Denny cut his teeth in New York City with, I guess, Liza Minnelli and Boots Randolph. I mean, it goes on and on. And he's such a dear friend, and I'm so thankful for him and Quarter Valley Records, giving me a shot to get this record out. And Denny brought in really good players. We did a show in LA to sort of release the album, and Davy Johnson from Elton's band played guitar with us. And man, just lifted me off the ground. These guys are such pros.
and they've been
So
around the world playing the same music. Oh, these books behind you.
yeah,
What are the books?
everything, man. Anything you could imagine. Music, kind of there's a history of music and stuff that my wife and I travel a lot. I read a lot of spirituality stuff.
The Kabbalion?
Yeah,
Just guessing.
there's Clapton's book, all different types of world religions. I just got a little, I'm starting to play electric guitar a little bit. I don't know what got me to do that. It'll help my writing a little bit.
Sure, it gives you a different
Um,
perspective.
and it's a little messy back there, but this is my studio and my office. And most nights I get home, we eat dinner, and I'm in here writing and working a little bit. It's just
I
got
can see the keyboard.
That's what I play is piano. I would call myself a piano player. It's taken a while,
Ah,
you know.
yeah, I've become a guitar owner. I play
There
the
you go.
piano only now, so the guitar's in the closet. It's like a 1970 Fender, but I used to be pretty good at rhythm. I've lost it all. You have
Really?
to you have to go. I'm
Yeah.
playing piano now, so it's like,
Are you really? Oh,
yeah, that's just briefly. I go into the piano room where I live, write a song, send it to Peter Kalo, Carly Simon's music director, and
wow.
Peter puts all the instruments down. We send it to Larry, my engineer, and then we send it to Rob Fraboni, Eric Clapton producer, Rolling Stones, and Fraboni masters it, and that's my formula. So I'm not even hands on producing like I did my whole life.
Yeah.
I'm a real maniac. I had to be there and do it, and now I'm just allowing other people to like co-produce, and it's a good feeling.
You still write a lot?
Yeah, why
Oh,
not? Yeah, I have a new album coming out with Peter, but it's
oh,
the Peter
sweet.
Kalo sessions. Yeah, uh, but we're doing documentary films. We're talking to guys like you, and like you said, we're documenting what you do and the demos that got the deals. We love that story. So
Yeah.
since '91, I've been asking people, which is important. I mean, you talked about the Billy Joel demo. I never heard of that.
Yeah.
He had that floating around. There was David Brown. When I managed the recording studio, David Brown from Billy Joel was producing, and Brad Delp was downstairs. But uh, Billy Joel's not in my ballywick. You know,
Yeah.
he
Hmm.
does what he does, but I'm more of an Elton guy.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and Honky Chateau was like this broken down studio, but they came out with that magnificent album,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
How did you like?
They both fascinate me. Billy is not that I know anything, but Billy technically is a pretty damn good piano player. And Elton does his thing. When I got to know Davy Johnstone a tiny bit, he's been Elton's music director. I don't know if you knew this, for 50 years,
I did
which
not know.
encompasses a lot of music, man. And Davy is just unbelievable. These guys, they just know what sounds good. They've got each of them have their little things, and Billy Joel is. The stories about him and Elton, we got to see both of them. My grandson drugged me to see both of them live last year, and they both have a whole different thing about them. But God, they're both really talented. What's funny is either one of them's too crazy about their own voice. I've heard it over and over from them, you know, and
They're not crazy about their voice.
they're not. Billy said, "Oh, I don't like my voice," and Elton has said that before, and
Yeah,
they
Elton
seem to
said
do okay, don't they?
Elton wanted to re-record the whole what album? Leave On, that the Blue album, Madman Across the Water. It's like those vocals are great,
Oh, they're tremendous. And
right? And he wanted to re-record it.
yeah, and I don't think they just are so soulful, and I listened to some of the stuff that Billy, Candle in the Wind. Listen to that song by Elton. I mean, the melodies and it's just beautiful, and that stuff has influenced me. I playing in bars and all that stuff for quite a while. I played all the hit songs, and most of the places we play in the Midwest, you did kind of country stuff for the first set, and then everybody gets hammered, and you're playing all the old rock and roll songs. Through Roger Hawkins at Muscle Shoals, I went to Nashville to sign my deal, and he brought a friend along, and his name was Steve McCormick. And I said, Steve, what do you do? He goes, well, I just played a lot of demos, at Muscle Shoals, and just a all these guys look like they're air conditioner salesmen or something. You know, none of them are all, it's different down there. They're just normal looking dudes. And he said, yeah, I had a gig once and Roger called me and Barry Beckett, the piano player, couldn't make it. So they brought me in and we had a song we're pitching to Bob Seger. You know, we thought it'd be a really good song. So we learned the song and there's no intro. And Steve McCormick says, well, I got an idea. I'll just do this for the intro. Ba 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 ba. And it was old time rock and roll. And they recorded the demo. He got paid like 35 bucks for playing piano. And when Seeger came down to do the track, Roger Hawkins told me they spent something like a week trying to get the energy that the demo had, and they couldn't do it, so they just used the demo. Listen to
Really?
listen to it again, man. You'll hear it. There's no click tracks, and it gets a little rushed and excited at parts, you know, and the energy was absolutely there. And here's that little guy, he had glasses, just went, I'll just do this. Ba, 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 ba. And that song really had a lot to do with supporting Muscle Shoals Studios for a long time. Made a lot of money, you know.
You're playing on that?
I'm not, no.
Oh, oh,
This other guy played the demo, you know.
oh, oh. Okay.
Yeah,
Who
yeah.
wrote it? Roger Hawkins? Or?
No, I believe somebody probably in Jackson, Malaco Music, probably wrote that. All those guys were writing a bunch of the songs back then. I
Ah,
should know the gentleman's name that wrote it.
no, but it's a cool story.
Oh man, you know, you could hear him go 35 bucks, you know. Who would have thunk it? It's one of the most well-known intros to any song in our lives, you know. I love it.
So they gave me the studio till 3. Anything else you want to say?
Well, I feel really thankful to have this record out. I think it's who I am. It encompasses a little bit of jazzy music here and there, a song about going to New York City. It tells stories about my life, you know, up and down, just being a human being. And I think having Denny and Picaro and these guys involved has helped elevate it to get it up and heard by some people. And I think just finally, you know, as an artist, I've had opportunities to do records before, but something in my gut said it wasn't going to be really who I was. Well, this is really who I am, better side of me. And we're proud of it, how it sounds. We didn't spend a lot of money on it. We just played music and added a couple of things. And what a deal. I get, you know, what it's done is it led me to getting to hang with you for an hour, you know. And I hope when I get out to Boston, I can come see you in person.
Oh,
Maybe,
we're gonna have you in the studio to talk and have
maybe
some
hear you
fun.
play some piano. Yeah, I'd love to do that.
Probably not. Just like you know, it's we'll listen to you. You'll play the piano and we'll videotape it. Uh,
Perfect.
Thank you, and thanks to John Lappin again.
Oh,
And
Johnny's the best. Yep.
yeah, he is. And good luck with the album.
Thank you,
Do
man.
yeah, we look forward to seeing you in Boston.
Hang in there. I'll let you know when I come.
All right, thanks, man.
Bye, Joe.
Bye.
Ciao.